In Episode 63, Implement Comprehensive Supply Chain Risk Management Practices, we explore how modern organizations protect themselves by safeguarding every dependency across design, delivery, operation, and retirement phases. Supply chains have grown deeper and more intertwined, which means a seemingly distant vendor or upstream component can influence the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of critical payment services. For an exam, understanding these dependencies is essential because a control failure outside the organization can still expose cardholder data or disrupt processing. The goal is to treat supply chain risk as a continuous discipline, not a paperwork event, ensuring that each dependency strengthens rather than weakens the overall security posture. A strong supply chain program begins with a comprehensive inventory of suppliers, software components, services, and the jurisdictions where hosting or processing occurs. This inventory should capture direct vendors as well as indirect ones, including open-source libraries, managed service providers, geographically distributed cloud platforms, and upstream payment processors. Hosting jurisdictions matter because laws, data access requirements, and regulatory environments differ widely across regions and can create risk that is not obvious from a simple product description. By building and maintaining this inventory, organizations form a clear picture of what they rely on and where potential exposure points exist. Without this foundation, more advanced supply chain controls lack context and precision. Once this landscape is understood, the next step is assessing criticality, concentration risks, and practical substitution options. Criticality analysis identifies which suppliers and components are essential to payment processing, fraud detection, cardholder data protection, or compliance obligations. Concentration risk refers to over-reliance on a single provider, region, or proprietary technology. If that provider suffers an outage, the organization could lose major capabilities. Substitution analysis explores whether alternate suppliers or components are available and how difficult it would be to transition during a crisis. These assessments help prioritize oversight and guide decisions about diversification, redundancy, or investment in alternative capabilities. To build confidence in the security posture of each dependency, organizations require attestations, audits, and control mappings supported by verifiable evidence. This may include independent assessments, such as penetration tests, certifications, or internal audit reports that describe the provider's controls in detail. Control mappings demonstrate how a supplier's security measures align to the organization's own requirements and to standards like the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, PCI DSS. Crucially, these materials must include evidence, logs, configurations, test results, access reviews, or architectural diagrams that back up the stated claims. When evidence is provided regularly and reviewed with rigor, the relationship transitions from blind trust to informed assurance. Software supply chain security has taken on new urgency, so enforcing software bill of materials requirements, signature verification, and provenance attestation is no longer optional. An SBOM provides a machine-readable list of components, versions, and dependencies inside software artifacts, making it easier to track exposure when vulnerabilities are disclosed. Signature verification ensures that code, images, or packages come from authentic, trusted sources and have not been tampered with. Provenance attestation documents who built the artifact, where, and using which secured processes, helping prevent the introduction of malicious code during build or packaging stages. By enforcing these requirements, organizations gain visibility into what they deploy and confidence that artifacts are genuine. Continuous monitoring strengthens the supply chain by identifying new vulnerabilities, advisories, and exploit activity related to dependencies. This includes tracking advisories from national vulnerability databases, vendor bulletins, threat intelligence feeds, and community disclosure channels. When a vulnerability affecting a key component emerges, teams assess exploitability, exposure, and patch availability, then determine whether immediate action is needed. Monitoring also includes watching for patterns of repeated weaknesses or slow patching from certain suppliers, which may signal deeper issues in their security program. With timely intelligence, organizations can move quickly to mitigate risk before attackers capitalize on emerging weaknesses. Because new suppliers and technologies enter the environment continually, organizations establish intake reviews to evaluate them before adoption. An intake review examines licensing terms, data handling obligations, cross-border processing implications, and any security controls the new supplier claims to provide. It also checks whether the supplier introduces new risks, such as unique dependencies, unsupported architectures, or contractual obligations that conflict with existing governance requirements. By channeling all new relationships through this structured review, organizations avoid accidental onboarding of high-risk suppliers or unvetted technologies. Clear onboarding, periodic reassessment, and termination processes ensure that supplier oversight remains stable throughout the relationship. Onboarding establishes baseline documentation, contacts, expectations, and reporting schedules, creating a strong foundation for ongoing assurance. Periodic reassessments examine whether security controls, performance trends, or contractual obligations have changed, and whether the supplier's risk profile has risen or fallen. Termination processes define how access is revoked, data is returned or destroyed, and operational responsibilities are transitioned when the relationship ends. Having explicit triggers for each process prevents oversight gaps and ensures a clean, controlled lifecycle from start to finish. Contracts play a central role in managing supplier risk, so organizations include specific clauses covering incident notifications, patch timelines, and escrow arrangements. Incident notification clauses specify how quickly suppliers must inform the organization of security events affecting shared data or services, ensuring that responses are coordinated. Patch timeline clauses define expectations for applying critical, high, and medium severity fixes, reducing the window during which vulnerabilities remain exposed. Escrow arrangements ensure that source code or critical assets remain accessible if a supplier becomes insolvent, discontinues a product, or cannot meet contractual obligations. These contractual controls help align supplier behavior with the organization's resilience needs. Tracking supplier performance through structured scorecards provides a clear view of how relationships evolve over time. Scorecards aggregate findings from audits, incident history, patch responsiveness, and security assurance updates. Trends show whether the supplier is improving, stagnating, or declining in its adherence to expectations. Findings that repeat without resolution may indicate deeper cultural or capacity problems that need attention. When combined with remediation follow-ups, scorecards offer a practical way to prioritize attention and resources across a large portfolio of suppliers. Preparing for disruptions includes simulating supplier failures and rehearsing transitions to alternatives. A simulation might assume that a critical cloud region becomes unavailable, a payment processor experiences extended downtime, or a software provider suffers a supply chain compromise. Teams practice how they would reroute services, activate backups, move workloads, or transition to secondary providers. These rehearsals uncover hidden dependencies, undocumented manual steps, and operational bottlenecks that slow down a real-world transition. Over time, the lessons learned feed back into better design, stronger contracts, and improved continuity plans. Supply chain risk management touches many parts of the organization, so insurance, legal, and procurement processes must be aligned with security governance requirements. Insurance teams evaluate policies covering supplier failure, cyber incidents, and business interruption. Legal teams ensure that contracts include enforceable protections and that regulatory obligations are met when data crosses borders. Procurement teams follow standardized risk checks before issuing purchase orders or renewing agreements. When these functions operate in harmony, the organization's supply chain defense becomes a coordinated system rather than a collection of isolated efforts. A quick mental review can help reinforce the major components of comprehensive supply chain risk management. Inventory provides visibility into the full set of dependencies, while assessments determine which dependencies matter most and how they might fail. Attestations, audits, and software bill of materials requirements bring evidence-based assurance into the relationship. Monitoring keeps attention on evolving risks, and contractual controls clarify expectations and accountability. Drills and rehearsals prepare the organization for disruptions, and governance integration ensures that all supporting functions pull in the same direction. Together, these practices create a resilient, transparent, and accountable supply chain. Implementing these practices transforms supply chain risk management from a reactive activity into a strategic discipline that protects payment services and cardholder data throughout the lifecycle of each dependency. For someone in a security role, this means being able to explain how upstream and downstream providers support rather than undermine security and availability goals. A practical next step is to select one key dependency and request updated attestations, including recent audit results and evidence supporting their current controls. This single action can spark productive conversations, refresh assumptions, and reinforce the organization's commitment to continuous improvement across its entire supply chain. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.